Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin Hicks and I'm your lead beat writer for Arizona State Sun Devils on SI. And I'm so grateful to be joining you on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We are now just 4 days away from the Arizona State Sun Devils opening up Big 12 play in massive fashion against the Baylor Bears. Two of the top teams in the Big 12 clashing against one another in week one of conference play. Well, we know there's a conference game week one, week zero between Kansas State and Iowa State, but outside of that, it is the opening of conference play, and we also get two of the other potential best teams in the conference in Utah and Texas Tech squaring off this week as well. So it's going to be an incredibly telling week for how the Big 12 might shape up. It's obviously not going to be the end all be all, but we might know a lot about these teams after this week. And the Baylor Bears come into this game on a 2-game winning streak. They suffered a very, very off game against Auburn in the opening game of the season, much like Arizona State did against Mississippi State. But they bounced back in a big way. They came back down 14 with 5 minutes left against a great SMU team and were able to beat them in overtime. While they handled Samford 42-7, the defense looked like it really maybe didn't get right, but it looked like it was there on the path to showing tangible improvement as the season goes on for Dave Aranda. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Arizona State's practice today. It was not the cleanest practice operationally. Uh, there was there were a lot of things that didn't necessarily go according to plan today. I'd say can't get into too many specifics in some of the fronts. Coach Kenny Dillingham did not speak after practice today, so that's kind of an ambiguous thing because he loves talking after practice. He usually talks even when he's not scheduled to talk, and he just didn't today. So is that ominous? I'm not sure. We'll see. But let's talk about a couple of things from practice, a couple of things that quarterback Sam Levitt and defensive coordinator Brian Ward had to say, and let's go from there. So today there were scouts from two NFL teams, the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, the Dolphins could be in market for a wide receiver this offseason. Probably not a quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa is likely locked in there for the long haul. But Jordan Tyson could be in the mix for them. Tyreek Hill seems like he's on the way out there. They need a complement to Jalen Waddle, and Jordan Tyson could be just that. They could also look to the interior offensive line. They could look at Ben Coleman. They could look at Ahimito Obigbo, who's been one of the best offensive linemen in the Big 12 so far this season. According to PFF, according to the eye test, he's been incredible. The transfer from Texas State probably has been the most standout offensive lineman that has received significant snap counts this season in Tempe. Um, Kyson Brown did some work with the running backs in drills. He probably will come back if I had to guess right now for this week. Coach Dillingham did say yesterday on Monday that he was confident that he would return this week, as he is confident that Jalen Moss will as well. But we shall wait and see if that actually comes to fruition. Those two players being back for the Baylor game would be absolutely massive, as Jalen Moss is Arizona State's best option out of the slot. He's phenomenal in zone cover, breaking down zone coverage. He's great at tracking balls. He's great at catching contested balls. He's just a good all-around receiver. He's great in the yak game. He does a little bit of everything out there, and they need him. They really do need him in complement of Jordan Tyson, potentially Jaron Hamilton, who had another strong practice today. That's somebody that I really want to talk about. Jaron Hamilton made two or three really, really superb catches during practice today, but it just hasn't translated to the field yet. He has yet to come down with a catch through the first 3 games for the Sun Devils. He did return a kick for a touchdown that got called back due to holding, and he nearly had a touchdown catch on Saturday. but it just was a little bit outside of his reach, just went off his fingertips. And what can he do to finally break out in a game? Because he's looked the part throughout the last month and a half of practice, almost 2 months of practice. And I am still very, very high on him. We'll have to wait and see how it translates to in-game scenarios. But I really believe that his breakout is coming. I have little doubt in my mind. I think he's too talented. I think he's too quick. I think his hands have been too good in practice for it to not translate to a game day. So that's really all I have from practice today so far. What the media availability on came on suing is there was a lot of standard answers from Sam Levitt and Brian Ward. Levitt did discuss how he's really looking forward to getting the Big 12 play, how the margins in the conference are so small, how Arizona State won 5 games by one score. They either had to score on the final drive or get a stop to win the games, and it probably will be even more magnified this season as ASU obviously plays Baylor, TCU, Utah, and Texas Tech in the first 4 conference games. Those very well could be the 4 best teams in the conference outside of Arizona State, and the results of those games really could go a long way towards shaping the team's fate in 2025. Uh, Levitt also discussed his connection with Shimon Mateer. I asked him about that in the media scrim, and he really talked about how he needs to get other guys involved. And Shimon is a guy that people don't like tackling because of his big frame. He's a deceptive athlete. He knows how to get into his spots, and that resulted in a 6-catch, 60-yard performance with a 27-yard touchdown for good measure. Shimon had 32 receptions last year. He's already at 7 this year, just about a quarter of the way through the season. There's a chance that he eclipses that total this season, even after a slow start through 2 weeks. And Brian Ward, a lot of what he had to discuss pertained to Baylor. He was talking about how the 3-headed monster they have at receiver is something that's going to be undeniably challenging for the Arizona State DBs, especially with Xavier Alford probably out this week. Boogie Wilson is a very strong player, but this is the first real test that he's had as a starting player at Arizona State, and we shall see how he attacks that. I got to ask him about Michael Trigg, the tight end from Baylor. That's probably the closest to being a match to Shimon Mateer in the Big 12 conference. He's all Big 12 caliber. He has a build that's very similar to Shimon, but Ward was very, very complimentary of him. He was talking about how he runs like a receiver. He's strong. He's very, very intelligent. He really does everything right by the book. And that's going to be a very challenging matchup for the Arizona State defense. The DBs are too small for him to place them on coverage, place him as their coverage assignment on a consistent basis. So you're probably going to have to look at Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook as coverage options on Michael Trigg. And to close things out, I wanted to talk about CJ Fight and Jacob Richkangaika once again. I got to ask Ward a question about those two as well, and he really lamented about how strong of a duo they are and how much he believes in the defensive line as a whole. He also gave a little bit of a tidbit away that possibly could hint at some good news coming the Sun Devils' way, that Zach Swanson, the Texas transfer and a major impact player on 2 deep for Arizona State last season, is questionable. He said there's a possibility that he comes back and plays this week, and that would be a huge get for the Sun Devil defensive line, for the front seven that already is strong. But Zach Swanson, as Coach Ward said just a couple weeks ago, he was in contention to be a starter on the defensive line before he broke his foot in April, and he's been working his way back over the last few months. He's finally made it back to the practice field over the last 3 weeks or so, And that would be a massive, massive get for Arizona State if he's good to go. And that's really all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in once again today. And please view all of my content on Arizona State Sun Devils on SI. Your support means everything to me, and I will see you tomorrow.